it's Emmie. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program, where you work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach so that you can lose weight on a starch-based diet. So if you're interested in that, go to healthyemmie.org or just click the link in the down bar. Also, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video, which is every Wednesday and Saturday. Today's video is tips for overeaters. I posted on my Instagram story and I said, hey guys, these are the two videos that are coming out this week. Which one do you want first? And everybody said, we want to help with the overeating. So here I am to deliver. I love talking about the topic of overeating because we so often find that in this plant-based world, we hear a lot of doctors saying, don't count calories, you don't need to count calories, don't worry about that, eat as much as you want. Now, here's the way that I want us to sort of reframe this. My camera is lowering. That's better. I want us to reframe this right off the bat. So imagine that you were the doctor that discovered this way of eating. You are the first person to discover that this is the optimal way to eat. And you say, all right, I got it. I'm gonna have, we're gonna eat a bunch of starches, we're gonna eat vegetables, we're gonna eat fruits, we're gonna eat legumes. And all of the traditional diet methods, it's pretty much just eating whatever you want within a certain calorie count. So here's a 1,200 calorie diet, a 1,500 calorie diet. But this is not that, because the way that this diet is designed, and I use the word diet just by talking about the food that goes in your mouth, I'm not talking about a prescriptive crash diet type of eating, but the way that this lifestyle, I'll say instead, is designed is that you're eating foods that are so low in calorie density that you don't really need to count calories, because you would have to overeat in order to be in a place where you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. Now, you're the doctor that has discovered this way of eating and it's not based on a number. And you say, oh, okay, these are the healthy foods that people should be eating. And when people eat this way within their hunger and fullness cues, they don't have to worry about the whole calorie count thing. So, okay, you're gonna eat starches, you're gonna eat vegetables, you're gonna eat fruits, you're gonna eat legumes. This is what we need to do. And then they go, hey doc, hey scientist, hey founder of this diet, how many calories do I eat? And the person says, oh no, don't worry about that. I want you to focus on the what, not the how much. But here's the thing, most people, when they hear that, that's all they hear. All they hear is, oh, I don't have to worry about how much I'm eating? Then I'm just gonna eat as much as I want. And that's what people tend to focus on. And they don't think about anything else. All they're fixated on is, I can eat as much as I want, I can eat as much as I want, I can eat as much as I want. And so they end up eating as much as they want and eat. And that wasn't the point of this whole lifestyle in the first place. This lifestyle wasn't created for the purpose of eating like it's Thanksgiving every day. This lifestyle was created because if you are honoring your hunger and fullness cues, then you don't really have to worry about the whole calorie count thing. But here's the problem. Most people are coming from crash dieting, so then when they come to this lifestyle, they don't know how to listen to their hunger and fullness cues because they've been on a lifestyle that has encouraged them to do the exact opposite and to completely neglect their hunger and their fullness cues, which turns most people into overeaters when they subsequently come to this lifestyle, a lifestyle where they're told that they don't have to count calories, and then they take advantage of that. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're not greedy, you're not gluttonous. If you're going through this, my Instant Pot is, the potatoes are ready. Okay, that was it. There's nothing wrong with you, and I hope that you don't feel any shame if you're struggling with overeating on this lifestyle, because this is something that I see very, very often. What makes it even more difficult is you'll hear people say that overeating on this lifestyle is impossible because nobody overeats on potatoes, nobody overeats on oatmeal, but I talk to people every single day that have this struggle. So people do it. People will eat until their stomach hurts on these foods. It doesn't matter what the substance is, it's about your relationship with the substance. So the purpose of today's video is to give you some hard and fast tips that you can use if you are struggling with overeating. Tip number one, this is one that I put on my Instagram story last night, and I actually talked about on the Q&A with my clients last night as well, is I'm calling it now the beach analogy. So when it comes to eating a meal, the purpose of food and the purpose of eating a meal is to alleviate hunger. And the absence of hunger has somehow been called fullness. If you're not hungry, well, then you're feeling full. So instead of searching for the absence of hunger, which is what food is supposed to do, it's supposed to help hunger go away, what people end up doing is they search for fullness. Instead of having a desire to get rid of hunger, people are searching for the feeling of fullness. So this is the way that I want to make an analogy for it. Let's say you're playing in the ocean, you're swimming, you're hanging out with your friends or your kids, and you're in the ocean, and then it's time to get out of the water. Well, when you get out of the water, you can get out of the water and you're still on the part of the sand that's a little bit wet, it's a little bit rocky, maybe parts of the ocean are coming and the waves are still kind of at your feet. That's out of the ocean. You're out of the ocean. And if the ocean is equivalent to hunger, this is what it should be after you eat a meal. You should be out of the ocean. The ocean is still there, but you're not in the water anymore. What people tend to do instead is they get out of the ocean and then they want to go up to the part of the sand that's nice and dry. That's the equivalent to feeling really stuffed and feeling really full. So whenever somebody has a meal in front of them, what they're fixated on if they're in the ocean is they're not focusing on just getting out of the ocean. They're focusing on getting to the really dry part of the sand, which is that feeling of overfullness, which is why people tend to overeat, because they're so fixated on feeling full as opposed to just alleviating their hunger. So what I want you to do is, instead of fixating on feeling full, just alleviate yourself of feeling this hunger and focus on that. Focus on just getting rid of hunger as opposed to really feeling ultra full and getting to that really dry part of the sand. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, before I get into part two, just a little break here to mention that if this is something that you're struggling with, if you're on this starch-based, plant-based diet and you are struggling with overeating, you're feeling alone, you don't have to go through this alone. I will work with you within my program. So apply to work with me, because this is something that I'm very familiar with and that I help people with, so we can get you through this. Tip number two for those that are struggling with overeating is to eat with other people. What I so often see is that when people are struggling with overeating, they're often eating their meals alone, and the habits that they engage in around food aren't ones that they would want other people to see. And if you're doing something that you would be embarrassed of other people watching you do, then it probably isn't something that's aligned with who you want to be and something that you feel proud of. You want to be proud of your actions, and character is who you are when nobody is watching. And your relationship with food really shines through in what you do, what you eat, and how you eat when nobody else is around. If you're not in a position where your relationship with food is strong enough that you can do this on your own and eat with nobody else around and not overeat, then you're going to want to eat your meals with other people. Studies show that we end up eating less when other people are around, and if you just try it out for yourself, you will see that you're not going to eat as much when you're with other people. And one reason is because you wouldn't want to do anything that you're embarrassed of. And the second is that you're usually talking with these other people. And if, because of the current status of today's world, if you're not able to eat a meal in the physical presence of other people, perhaps have a Zoom meal with somebody or FaceTime with somebody and eat your dinners together. And that will slow you down, allow you to talk a little bit between bites, maybe call a friend. I know that last night my significant other called me while I was eating dinner, and by the time we had finished talking on the phone, I didn't even end up eating the rest of what was on my plate, because I was like, oh, I'm actually, now that I've taken some time and this is digested, it takes 20 minutes for the signal to get from your stomach to your brain when you've finished eating and when you've had enough, that I was like, all right, I'm done here. I've had enough. So by eating with other people, you are less likely to end up overeating. Tip number three is to put less food on your plate. We eat food because it's there. If you fill up your plate, you're gonna eat whatever's on your plate. Remember that there's never any urgency with eating. Eating is not an emergency. And we are so lucky to be in a society where food scarcity is not a thing. We don't have to go hunt and gather our food. If you're watching this video, I would reckon that you have access to a grocery store where food is abundantly permanently stocked. So we don't have this scarcity around food where when it's here, we have to eat all of it right now. So put less on your plate. And I'm not saying that you have to eat less. I'm just saying put less on your plate, put half of what you usually put on your plate. And then if you finished that and you feel like you truly still have hunger, you're still in the ocean that we talked about earlier, then whatever you would have for that other half, have half of that. And then keep doing it until you feel as though you're not experiencing true hunger anymore. Tip number 4 is to set a timer. As I talked about in an earlier tip, it takes about 20 minutes for the signal to be sent to your brain that you've had enough. So set a 10, 15, 20 minute timer. Actually, something that I learned when I was a teacher is that when I would give the kids, I say, okay, I'm gonna set a timer and I want you to complete this task by the end. You never wanna set a 5-minute timer because people, for some reason, don't take it too seriously. When I say I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to do something, they think, oh, you know, she says 5 minutes, we'll be working on this for the next 20 minutes. If you actually set a timer for 7 minutes, you're more likely to do whatever you're supposed to do during that time. So set perhaps a 7-minute timer or a 17-minute timer. The best thing to do is to set a 20-minute timer because that is how long it takes for the stomach to send the signal to the brain that you've had enough food. So set a 20-minute timer so that your stomach can tell your brain, hey, we've had enough, we don't need any more right now. And you can always go back for more. That's something you gotta drive home here, is that there's no urgency. You can always go back and have a little bit more. Tip number 5 is to have meal bookends. So something to tell you that the meal is over, you've had enough, that's that, the meal is over. Something we used to say growing up in my household is the kitchen is closed. After dinner, we closed the kitchen. Little did I know that was kind of a bookend, that just hearing that the kitchen is closed, that meant the meal was over. So you need to make a bookend for yourself, whether it's having a cup of tea, whether it's going and opening up your book and reading your book, whether it's preparing the kids' lunch for tomorrow, something that tells you the meal is over. Once I do this, the kitchen is closed, at least for now. Remember, you can always go back and get more, but something that tells you we're done eating now, because otherwise it's gonna be a runaway train and you can just keep eating and eating and eating. So setting some sort of a bookend that tells you, all right, you know, the kitchen's closed, I'm done here. A bookend is an activity that tells you to start doing something or to stop doing something. And usually we don't need bookends to tell us when it's time to start eating, but having a bookend when it's time to finish eating is one that is a lot more common and a lot more useful. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Today's secret word is bookend. If you watched to the end of the video, comment bookend so that I can know that you are a true honey. I love you guys and I'll see you in my next video.